If your kid's losing it and you are too, that's not bad parenting. That's co-dysregulation. Two nervous systems stuck in survival mode together. What does co-regulation even really mean? It's something you may have heard of, but you don't know what it is or even how to achieve it. Well, basically, at its core, it's that when you calm your nervous system first, so your child can mirror that calm, and at a really deeply biological level, their nervous system attunes to yours. You become their emotional anchor without even saying a word. And it's not about fixing and certainly not about rescuing your kid. It's about staying present through their dysregulation, whether it's those little moments of bubbling up or the big explosions or the just shutting you out. It's really being there so their nervous system can actually, you're their barometer. Like it's where they learn to regulate. Your emotional tone sets the tone for theirs. Calm is not caught, it is taught. Kids do not just automatically become regulated. They learn through lots of scientific ways, but mostly through parenting. And don't worry, if you're mostly a good parent like me, not a perfect parent, then your kid will achieve that. If you're struggling in a state of dysregulation, then you are actually in that co-dysregulation all the time with your kid, and your nervous systems will set to a dysregulated state. Hopefully that's a bomb for you. And it doesn't matter if you have a trauma background, you've only learned, ways to dysregulate from your parents, you're unsure what to do. That's okay. You're here. You can continue watching this video. You can also watch this video to help you to better understand just how important co-regulation is. It's the C in our comms protocol, which really helps you to parent in a really easy way. Certainly more effective than what you're doing. So why is staying calm so darn hard? And that's because your nervous system reacts to theirs, especially empaths. My JC started school this week and he was really excited about it. And I found myself like a freaking nervous wreck at home. Like, I was like, wow, this reminds me of when Max started preschool. I don't think I ever felt this way before. And he's starting high school and I just had so many things and I didn't let him see it. I was cool as a cucumber, but man, I was up in the middle of the night. It was like, who's awake that I could text? My best friend Shelly, who is in Australia. So, but it's hard when we're dysregulated to actually really tolerate their distress. When their big emotions come up, our nervous system actually sees it as a threat, especially again, if you weren't modeled co-regulation growing up. A lot of my friends were in very authoritarian homes, not authoritative, which is positive, authoritarian, like shut up or you're going to be in trouble. This is, a very common style of parenting or lots of punishment. I will beat you into submission. I will punish you into submission. You've heard me tell the story. I have this buddy that I grew up with. She literally was like grounded, like forever. And I like really almost lost becoming, being her buddy, but she never could do anything. And it was high school. It would be like 10 weeks would go by. And I'd be like, do you want me to talk to your mom? And she'd be like, oh, forget about it. And her mother would let her do some things with me, but they were just so ridiculously strict. Of course, what happened to her? Like, as soon as she could, she got married at 19 to some abusive guy because she was like, I got to get out of here. This is what happens when we overparent. When we underparent, we produce the same kind of kid, people that do at-risk things. Thankfully, she's doing okay as a human being, but, definitely struggled for a long time. Chronic stress, hello, perimenopause, us women. Men go through hormone shifting too. We just don't talk about it. Fatigue, unresolved trauma, they all make parenting feel impossible and certainly regulating yourself. And when you feel unsafe, when you feel threatened, oh, this kid's disrespectful, how dare he, then your brain gets hijacked. Okay. And that means you're not going to be the best parent. You're not going to show up in the best way. Okay. And again, as long as you're not living there, this stuff happens. Okay. It's just that way. What is dysregulation? What is it like in the real world? I remember years ago, many, many years ago, I was working with a little kid named Henry, and he was just having meltdowns and yelling and just lots of power struggles between him and his mom. And Denise felt like she was just walking on eggshells. And like, no matter what she did and said, Henry was a hot mess. And, just constantly she had to overcorrect him, rescue him, get him out of shutting down. And, she was taking him to sensory support. He was on an IEP. It was all that other stuff. And they would have these blowouts, and then they would each feel disconnected, and they started really like not liking each other. And this wasn't an old kid. This is probably like a kid. He was probably 10 or 11, and this had been going on. Henry was a kid that just dysregulated. I think for Denise, what she realized, and we'll talk about how they corrected it, so make sure you stay and listen, is that you can't regulate your child's behavior if your own nervous system is stuck in fight, flight, or freeze. And that is what I taught Denise to really create change, because she was realizing all she was stuck in just the sympathetic dominant activated state, because that's where Henry was. Like the moment he got off the bus, she was just anticipating him reacting in a struggle the moment he woke up. What did she do? First of all, I want to talk about what co-regulation sounds like, because yes, there's lots of ways we non-verbally can do it, and make sure you listen to those, watch those episodes, listen to those episodes so you can learn more about co-regulation. And this is like part of a little mini series I'm doing. So make sure you're following along in the next upcoming weeks. You're going to say things differently. And in the perfect world, when we're getting really good at this, I'm going to talk so much about this in my book. Can't wait for you. We're in the 1 year countdown of the book. How exciting is that? 1 year or less by the time this comes out. Is that we are so used to nonverbal cues. And yes, I want you to lean into your nonverbal cues. So critical. We don't say we hear you and have our arms crossed. Say like, good job, on that. Your brow is, you're looking angry. But we're saying things like, I see you're having a hard time. I'm here for you. I actually had to do this today because same, anxious about school. JC's having a great, had a great week. But the reality of high school is hitting him. I mean, I read some of these syllabuses, which we didn't have in the 80s. Okay, only in college. But apparently it's, been around since like the late 90s. Okay. And it was like a jail warden's syllabus. And I was like, this one teacher right here, listen to me. Now he's like a good natured kid, except for the Canadian math teacher that he threw his calculator little bit, few feet away from. That's a whole other story. He was feeling very overwhelmed by the responsibilities that come ahead of him, and was really kind of cranky about it. And afterwards, he was regulated, and we were able to talk about it. And that's what he admitted to, that there's some nerves, and he knows it's normal. We processed it. We processed what else you should do. I asked, I'm here for you. Like, is there something else you need from me? And he's like, no. He actually sat there and he was like, no, I don't think there's anything else. And I was like, the reality is it's a lot more work. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, do you feel prepared for it? And he said, yeah. And I was like, okay, and it's just normal stuff. But it's those words, right? That's what co-regulation sounds like. If I came in like, you're being a jerk, right? Which, hello, who hasn't done that? Okay. But it's not your go to. You can say things like, we don't have to be both have to be calm right now, but I'm going to be calm. You can also say, I'm not mad. Let's breathe through this together. Whatever you have to do to let them know this isn't something you're personalizing, and that you will be here for that. You're not rescuing, you are setting up that co-regulation for them. It's incredibly powerful, not just for your kid, but honestly for yourself. When you have these explosion, you feel terrible, and you don't want to have that happen. How do you build your co-regulation muscle? Number one, you're going to start with pausing. Okay. The power of the pause. Also going to talk about that in my book. You're going to stop You're going to breathe or whatever it is to get yourself into a parasympathetic state. You're going to anchor. Okay. Zip your mouth. Don't be saying something that you're going to be like, oh, right? You know what I mean? Because, you're learning too. That's why you're here. You're going to track your own triggers so you can get ahead of them. Like maybe certain words or certain situations are like super triggering. You're going to have to find a way to put your big girl panties on, your boxers on if you're a dad or whoever you are. You're going to have to learn to buck up because you are the parent. And I promise you, you can do it. If you're really, really, really struggling with this, like you have unresolved shit, you need to go to a therapist. Okay. Please, there's no shame in that in this time. We have to deal with our stuff. If your kids are triggering your stuff, which happens to a lot of parents, particularly parents who've been physically or sexually abused or neglected or had narcissistic parents, let me tell you something. We all think we're going to have a kid and it's going to be rainbow and sunshines, but it can be very triggering. So I'm acknowledging that for you, but I'm also telling you, get your shit together. Okay. And I don't mean to be tough, but I am tough because too many parents walk around wounded, knowing they're wounded and not taking care of it. And therapists, we're everywhere. And you can find one that's good. I promise you, especially for adults. A little tough talking from Dr. Rowe. You want to practice when things are calm. You don't want to practice co-regulation right out of the gate in the worst situations, right? Marathoners practice. NASCAR drivers don't just get out and ride on the Daytona 500. They're doing other things. You got to think of parenting in the same way. Co-regulation, when you're doing it not in the chaos, feels good. And then you're teaching that nervous system, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And it will do it subconsciously, I promise, right? Here's your action step. You're going to pick one moment each day and pause before reacting. Okay. And this doesn't even have to be with parenting. This can be with the annoying coworker. This can be with your partner, your spouse, your mother-in-law. I have a good mother-in-law. Whoever is like annoying you, pause before you say something. Pause before you respond to a text. How about that? And then try a co-regulation script that feels natural for you, right? Maybe you saying something like, I'm here for you or let's take a breath together doesn't feel right. There are lots of them. You can go to our quick calm and learn more about ways to better support your parenting and the comms protocol. And that's drroseann.com/quick calm. It's a really inexpensive 7-day program, people. It's very helpful, according to my people. You're going to try that script and then reflect. What's happening in my body when my kid is dysregulated? What am I feeling? And you really want to pay attention to that because now you're going to know that feeling soon as it starts to happen, right? Oh, I feel myself sweating. I feel the tightness in my chest. I mean, my knees hurt. Whatever it is, you're now going to say, "Oh, I feel that way. I've got to regulate." You don't even have to start thinking. You start doing and stop trying to overanalyze your kid's behavior. Really think about what's setting you off for yourself and how does your body feel. And then when you go first, and you regulate, you will not believe what will happen in your kid. You're going to watch their nervous system follow your lead. It's not perfect, just like anything else. It needs time. But just remember, you don't need perfect parenting. You need a regulated presence. And that's when what your child's nervous system responds to. That's what regulation first parenting is. And if you want to feel less chaos, more connection, more love and peace in your home, then subscribe to our Dysregulation Insider newsletter. You can go to drroseann.com/newsletter, and you're going to have amazing tips in your inbox every week from me to make parenting and life more pleasant for everybody in your home.
Want more insights and solutions? Well, subscribe to our Dysregulation Insider, and it will show up in your inbox every week.